Hello fans, I'm Kevin Pyland, and thank you for watching this episode of the Kevin Pyland Show on Facebook, as this is a Facebook exclusive of the show. Today's episode is going to be about quarantine for a second. If you were watching last night, I was live at KGNZ and I was talking about an update with Dustin Tatro, as I found out after the video was over that Dustin Tatro's last night in quarantine was actually last night. I was not aware of that until after I saw him at the studio. And it was also discovered that he caught a staph infection. And no, I'm not talking about staph like the people you work with. I'm talking about a disease called staph, which is spelled S-T-A-P-H. It's a disease that I've heard about for some time, but I never thought he would be catching it. And, you know, it's one of those things that you never thought would happen a second time, as I found out in the beginning of the week alone that he caught the chickenpox from when he was working over at MetroCare. And he found out that he had to be in quarantine, which was terrible. And, you know, it was just one of those sad situations where I was worried about him for some time, but I felt better knowing he was okay and that he had to do what he had to do. At first, I thought his dog was in quarantine because animals can be in quarantine as well, which most people know already. But it was determined it was actually him that was in quarantine. And that's what led to a miscommunication in the beginning of the week. But the fact that he took it in stride meant a lot to me. And speaking of Dustin Tatro, he's going to be a guest on today's show as well, so stick around for that. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you one more time about a man who was arrested in a case of mistaken identity. Stay with us. And welcome back to the show. Now, in Memphis, Tennessee, an innocent man has been out of the Chattanooga jail and was headed back to Memphis just a few days ago. And this was after someone stole his identity and used it to commit credit card fraud in the last 24 hours. The 21-year-old had probably aged a couple of years. And that refers to the identity thief who was older than him. Saturday night, he was picked up by the Shelby County deputies for a warrant out of Chattanooga. Monday afternoon, he was taken from Memphis to Hamilton County to answer for the charges. Tuesday morning, law enforcement there realized Quentin Braxton didn't fit the description of the 6-foot tall and 195-pound man that they were looking for. And Tuesday evening, Braxton was released. He stated that he felt like God heard his prayers, and he felt like God responded back, and he wanted to thank him for that. Prayers and persistence. 4 days after being arrested on a warrant out of Chattanooga for a crime he didn't commit, he is now a free man and has been for the past few days. The scariest part about all of this was that they were never going to find out that he didn't do it, or that they were going to keep him in there for a long period of time with somebody out there using his identity. The man who stole that person's identity that the police were looking for was 6 feet tall and weighed 195 pounds. The real person was 5 feet 6 inches and weighs in at 145. But after his arrest, it took spending 2 nights in a 5-hour car ride to Hamilton County and a night in jail before they realized that they had the wrong man. Frustration, anger, nervous, and scared, it went through his mind when he was in there, hoping that he could get out, hoping that they could do something about it, and hoping that they could leave, hoping he could leave as soon as possible. He was ready to go home. The 21-year-old had to deal with a long travel day, but the ride will be easier knowing that Tuesday night's rest will not be hampered by the nightmare of jail. The Chattanooga police are pursuing leads on a man who stole the man's identity. They said once caught, he will face original theft investigation as well as criminal impersonation, criminal simulation, and fraud. If I had my tongue tied, I apologize. I have those days. Now, if you were watching some of my Facebook Live shows, you may have heard music in the background. Well, that was part of the show, as Dustin Tatro was part of the show as well. The downside was the copyright issue that most of you have heard about. I want to remind everyone that I don't have control of the music when I'm at the radio station, because it's background music. And the only reason why I had it on KGNZ while I was here on Facebook Live is that way you could hear what he has to say during the show. And while that was a good idea, it came with a catch. The catch was it would get marked for copyright, yet you weren't doing anything wrong, because you wasn't technically doing a music show. I was doing a news show, like I usually do every day. And, you know, while we all have to understand and respect the copyright of artists, the fact remains, you know, sometimes companies like YouTube and Facebook take copyright so seriously that even if you're not doing something wrong, you are, and it just doesn't look right. You know, the reality is, it's not copyright if there's music playing in the background in the room that you're in. So how can YouTube and Facebook sit around and tell us that we're violating copyright when we're really not? We're just in an area where there's music playing. Now, when we come back, Dustin Tatro is my guest. Stay with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Pollan. I want to thank you for watching this episode of The Kevin Pollan Show on YouTube and Facebook. I have some good news for those of you who have been wondering about Dustin Tatro. He is out of quarantine and is now back to work at Metrocar. And in a moment, Shawn Hardesty is going to be my guest tonight. But first, I want to tell you that I'm so happy for Dustin Tatro. I mean, I've been visiting him over the weekend at KGNZ, and he's telling me that he's just doing the best he can to heal. He was going to go back on KGNZ Friday night, but decided not to for safety reasons. But in the meantime, when we come back, Shawn Hardesty is going to be my guest. Stay with us. And welcome back to the show. Now my guest is Shawn Hardesty. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me on the show once again, man. Glad to be on the show with you.
Tell me what it was like not being able to hang out with Dustin Tatro for about a week. I mean, what was that like?
It was pretty relaxing. Got to get out of town and visit my brother and see what Arizona was like. It's very friendly up there, and sometime I hope to move up there when I can and get my own place, get me a spot, and bring on there.
Yes, and you know, I've been visiting Dustin Tatro Monday and Friday, and I got to tell you, it was pretty different than it normally was. How did you feel when you first heard that Dustin was in quarantine?
I thought that was a little bit weird at first. Like, I felt like it was a little bit strangely odd that I come back and he's in quarantine, and I'm like, what the heck happened? Did he get something, or did he come down with the flu, or what? And turned out to be he had chickenpox. So, yeah, we all get them at times. So, can't complain.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I was just letting the fans know that I never thought it would happen a second time. Did you ever think that anyone would get chickenpox for a second time?
Oh, no. I never thought that for 1 second. As a matter of fact, if he didn't have chickenpox, he got it for the first time, or didn't get it for the first time, and he already had it when he was a kid, he may have had shingles. So, you got to be aware or not of that as well.
Yes. Now, if I wanted to prevent myself from getting the chickenpox the second time, what would I need to do?
I would say go to the doctor, see what he can do to help prevent the chickenpox from coming, and just basically get on medication and do what the doctor tells you. Take the medication as needed and go from there day by day. Just drink plenty of fluids, drink water, and stay in your house, stay away from people, try to isolate yourself away from people, and once you get better, then you can get out in public and do your normal things that you do.
Yes. And, you know, I never thought Dustin would catch it after working for Metrocare, and I'm glad he's back on the job. And I never thought for a second that he would use Aerosmith as a way of showing his expression. So, can you imagine what life would be like if he used music to express himself in a different way on Facebook?
Right. I can imagine that.
We have to give him credit. And I called Dustin earlier tonight to see if he would be at the station. He said no, but I never thought I would be doing an experiment with my bicycle's Bluetooth, which I have attached. So,
Yeah.
So, I understand that you want to have me as a DJ on Iced Out Radio. That way, in the event you go to Arizona, you'll still be able to listen to me.
Yeah, basically how I do that is I'll send you a broadcast, and I'll send you the code for the broadcast software and help get it set up for TeamViewer. And basically, once I do that, I'll create you encoders after and let you go on air, check it out, hit the mic button, and I'll let you get voice get up and that's all. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure you're heard loud and clear, and sometimes I can't hear you, but I know the phone can because I have it attached to the speaker, as I have it close to the speaker so that you can be heard as well. Hopefully, the sooner the better. I mean, because I know for a fact you want to hear me on Iced Out Radio, even if you're not going to be on the air. So, is there anything that you want to say to my fans about the experience?
Just get up there and experiment with things. You never know what's going to go on. So, it's like me and the CW here. I'm going to do this right fast. Say hello to the people at CW right fast here. It's all about experimenting with things and going on with life. And here we go. We're going to send the word hello for y'all.
Well, anyways, I want to thank you for being a guest on my show tonight. And when we come back, I'll have my opinion on how I felt about Dustin Tatro in quarantine. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I spoke to Dustin Tatro recently, and he told me that he's glad to be out of quarantine and that he's been back to work since Monday of this week alone. I wasn't able to get him as a guest on my show due to several things that have come up, and I totally understand what happens. You know, sometimes you can't always get the kind of guests that you need when they have other things to do. The same can be said for me and Shawn Hardesty, who I want to thank you for being a guest on my show when Dustin couldn't do it, at least for this particular episode of the Kevin Holland Show. This episode was originally a Facebook exclusive, but I have decided to upload this episode of the Kevin Holland Show on YouTube. And I must say that I've learned a lot of things about KGNZ so far. And the downside of Facebook Live, for those of you who've been watching recently, is that the music that plays in the background is often taken as copyright infringement, but in reality, you're not really the one in control of the music in the background. And it's just one of those things that you come across from time to time, and you just have to say, you know what, while I don't own the rights to the music, I also have to let folks know that I'm in a place where music is playing and I can't just tell them to stop playing music so I can do my show. No, I don't have that right, and if I'm expected to do that, then it's going to be a problem between me and Facebook, because Facebook is the one with the problem. YouTube, on the other hand, they seem to be a good sport so far, and if there's a problem, I can work it out with them, to say the least, and let them know, hey, I have no control of the music that plays in the background. But so I want to close this show by saying thank you for watching, and please make sure you don't end up in quarantine like Dustin